It's kind of a funny story, making the decision to go back. It involves margaritas and BuzzFeed, so if you want to hear the story, tell me down below and maybe I'll turn it into a future video. Okay, so you remember last year when those BuzzFeed quizzes first got really popular? Well, last winter I found myself doing one of those quizzes. Which immortal guy is your soulmate? No. Which fruit matches your personality? No. Which community character are you? No. Can you focus on the camera and let me tell my story? Yeah, sure thing. Anyway, one of the quizzes that was going around Facebook was, what career should you actually have? Now, I don't take internet quizzes seriously, but that night I was bored and curious to see how accurately BuzzFeed could judge my mental state. Whoa. Created from the day you were born, you spend most of your time thinking about the world you live in. You're open to new ideas and value beauty and originality more than most. Other occupations: director. Director. Wait a minute. Are you telling me that you decided to go back to school based on the results of a BuzzFeed quiz? Well, not exactly. But it did get me thinking about what my life would have been like if I had chosen to major in film. The next day, I was flipping through the channels on TV when I came across a commercial for this local media arts school. I'd never heard of it before, so I whipped out my laptop and started poking around the school's website. Then, I stumbled upon the tuition costs. Ain't nobody got time for that. I put the idea of school out of my mind until later that weekend, when I was having margaritas with my roommate while watching TV. The commercial for that media arts school came on TV, and, slightly buzzed, I turned to my roommate and said, "Do you know that I checked out their website?" "Yeah? What'd you think?" "Well, it sounds really cool, but the tuition is hella expensive." "You should check them out. Take a tour. You might like it." "Yeah, alright." The next day, I contacted the school and set up a tour. Walking through campus and watching instructors teach their students, I had this warm, fuzzy feeling in me that I hadn't felt in years. Up until that point, I'd been feeling unsure of my place in this world. Years after graduation, the idea of going to grad school for psychology no longer applied to me, and that made me feel unbalanced and directionless. But taking that tour reignited this fire in me. I felt this thirst to learn and create, and pretty soon it was all I could think about. I spent the next several weeks wrestling with the idea of going back to school, though. I was afraid to become another statistic. One of those college grads who went back to school because they didn't get it right the first time or something. I didn't want to disappoint my parents, who invested their time and money in seeing that I land a stable job in a highly respected field. And I was afraid to tell my boss and colleagues, whom I'd told time and again that I was just doing this research job to make me a more desirable grad school applicant. After confiding in my roommate and other close friends, I slowly found the courage to talk to my parents, my boss, and my colleagues. It turned out that all those fears were totally unfounded, as they were all extremely supportive of my decision. So I applied to this media arts school, got in, and started my program last fall. I'm currently in my second semester, and I should be wrapping up sometime in early 2016. Making the decision to go back to school is not easy, because there are a lot of factors that affect that decision. For me, the biggest roadblock was finances, because art school is surprisingly expensive. I think what ultimately tipped the scale in my decision was how I felt about the idea of going back. After years of feeling lost, the idea of getting to work on my craft in this structured learning environment made me feel like, at last, I was standing on solid ground. And to me, that made all the other obstacles seem manageable. Obviously, this won't apply to everyone, so the only advice I'll give if you're considering going back is think hard about your reasons for going back. If you're considering going back, make sure you're doing it for you. And have a good support system. I cannot stress enough how important it is to have people to turn to when you feel like those obstacles are too big to hurdle. Going to media art school has been a rewarding experience. Last semester, I took a class in Photoshop, where I learned to manipulate photos and create fictional scenarios. I also took a class in Illustrator, where I designed things like mock DVD covers and even my personal logo. This semester, I'm taking a class on camera techniques, where I'm learning to work with JVC cameras as well as lighting and audio equipment. It's the first class where I've actually gotten to collaborate with my fellow students, and that has been really exhilarating. If you're interested, I started posting my group project videos on my personal channel. I'll link that playlist down below if you want to check them out. Also, you may remember that last semester I joined the film production club. Well, we're really close to being done with pre-production, and next month, hopefully, we're going to start shooting. The film is called Chromesthesia, which takes place in a futuristic world that's dull and lifeless because the arts no longer exist. We started posting some behind-the-scenes photos on our Facebook page, and if you look closely, you'll notice that I am the only woman on the crew, which has been interesting. We're launching a Kickstarter to fund the project soon, so if you'd like to support the film, I'll be posting more info about it on my Twitter. Anyway, that's enough about my life in school. I'll be hanging out in the comments if you want to chat about anything, really. How are you? How's your day going? I want to know how you're doing. As always, thank you for watching. Chris, I'll see you on Wednesday? It's funny because there's nothing on the TV. I know, right?